The sky above New Terra was always the same shade of dull gray. Clouds never moved much, and the sun filtered through like it was too tired to shine. The wind carried dust from the old mining fields, and machines groaned endlessly in the distance. Life here was hard but steady. People worked, ate, and tried not to think too much about the council. Elias Ward stood outside his workshop, a faded blue scarf wrapped around his neck to block the dust. His hands were rough and stained with oil. The smell of metal and fire clung to his skin. He had once flown starships in the Earth Defense Corps. Now he repaired broken drilling bots in a forgotten corner of a forgotten world. He liked it that way. Quiet, simple, far from war and orders. A voice cracked through the colony loudspeakers. All citizens report to public terminals. Immediate broadcast from the Galactic Council. Elias sighed. His hands dropped the wrench. People were already gathering in the center of the mining hub, faces tense. He joined them, dust rising around his boots. A large screen lit up on the wall above the old supply station. The council seal appeared first, cold and perfect. Then came the face of an alien, tall and silver-eyed, with skin like polished stone. Chancellor Vazar. His voice was smooth and hollow, like glass cutting through ice. Citizens of the human territories, he said, in the interest of peace and unity, the Galactic Council issues Directive 117. All human colonies are to surrender military technology, ships, and weapons within 5 solar days. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Some people looked confused. Others looked afraid. This is not a punishment, Vazar continued. It is protection. Protection from your past, from your nature. Elias's jaw tightened. You will comply peacefully, Vazar said, or you will be corrected. The screen went dark. No questions. No debate. Around him, the crowd broke into whispers. One miner, a man named Kroll, spat on the ground. Corrected, he said. What does that mean? No one answered. Back at the workshop, Elias stared at the wall for a long time. The council had always watched over things, but they had never ordered this before. Disarmament was something they did to hostile planets. Dangerous ones. Not Earth. Not its colonies. He pulled out a crate from under the floorboards. Inside was a dusty old blaster, wrapped in cloth. He hadn't touched it in years. Not since the war. He picked it up slowly, feeling the weight of it. Later that night, as the colony went quiet and the lights dimmed, the emergency feed blinked on again. Elias turned on the monitor. A live broadcast from the colony of Velos Prime, one of the outer human settlements. Velos Prime had refused the order. On screen, council ships hovered over the city. There were no warnings, no talks. The ships opened fire. Buildings lit up like matchsticks. People screamed and ran as the entire colony burned. Within minutes, nothing remained. The screen cut to black. Then the council seal returned. This is the cost of disobedience. Elias turned off the monitor. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from something deeper, something he thought he'd buried long ago. The galaxy didn't want obedience. It wanted submission, and Elias Ward was done kneeling. Morning came without sunlight, just a pale haze that drifted through the colony, brushing everything in gray. The mining bots started their shift before the people did. The machines never complained, never questioned. But the people were starting to. In the mess hall, the air was thick with quiet talk. The broadcast from Velos Prime had shaken everyone. No one said the word murder, but it hung in the room like smoke. Elias sat alone in the corner, sipping cold coffee that tasted like old metal. His eyes scanned the room. He saw fear, confusion, and something else, something just beginning. Doubt. Kroll sat down across from him without asking. Did you see it? He asked. Elias didn't look up. I saw. They didn't even try to talk. Just wiped them out. Like they were nothing. That was the message. Kroll leaned in closer. Some of us are talking. Not out loud. Not yet. But we're thinking. Maybe it's time to stop bowing. Elias's eyes finally met his. You talk too loud, Kroll, and you won't have a tongue left to use. Kroll gave a dry laugh, more bitter than amused. Maybe, but I'd rather die talking than live on my knees. He stood and walked away. Elias watched him go, his words echoing. Later that day, Elias returned to the old shaft behind the repair bay. It hadn't been used in years. The lift was rusted, its gears silent. He pried open the gate and climbed down the ladder, one step at a time. The deeper he went, the colder it became. Dust floated in the air like dead stars. At the bottom, he reached a forgotten storage room. It had been sealed long ago during the last war. Inside, crates lined the walls, military crates. Old, stamped with fading Earth fleet codes. He broke one open. Blasters, armor, signal jammers, a small fusion cell. All illegal now. Elias ran his hand over a worn helmet, his name still printed across the side. Memories came fast. Screams over the radio. Fire in space. Orders shouted through static. And the silence after the war ended. He closed the crate. He wasn't ready to open that part of himself again. That night, an official from the council arrived in the colony. His name was Overseer Taller, a thin man with bright eyes and a voice like silk over steel. He wore the council's silver robe and spoke like everything he said was for your own good. He gathered the colony leaders in the central chamber. "I am here as a friend," he said. "We want peace. But peace requires trust." No one responded. Taller smiled as if he didn't notice the tension. "You have 5 days to comply with the order. If you have weapons, turn them in. If you know where weapons are, report them. Those who cooperate will be protected." A hand rose from the back. "Kroll, what about Velos Prime?" he asked. "Did they get protected?" Taller's smile didn't fade, but his eyes sharpened. "Velos Prime chose death. You may choose life." After the meeting, Elias slipped away down the back corridors. He knew someone was following him. He didn't run. He just walked until the sound of footsteps behind him stopped. A voice whispered, "Ward." He turned. A small figure stepped out of the shadows. A woman, younger than him, wearing an old pilot's jacket. Dark hair tied back. Sharp eyes. "Mina," Elias said. "Didn't expect to see you here." She smiled faintly. "I've been around. Listening." "For what?" "For someone who might still remember how to fight." Elias didn't answer. "I saw what you found," she said. "The old gear. The shaft's cameras still work, you know." Elias narrowed his eyes. "And you just watched?" "I wanted to see what you'd do," Mina said. "You're not hiding it anymore. That means you're thinking about using it." Elias looked past her to the night sky over New Terra. Cold stars blinked above the colony dome. "I'm not leading a war," he said. "No," she replied. "You're starting one." She tossed him a small device, a signal blocker. "Council tracking drones couldn't follow you if it was active. Others will come," she said. "People like Kroll. People who don't want to kneel." She walked away, her boots silent on the steel floor. Elias stood there, the device in his hand. The wind outside picked up, rattling the old vents. The council wanted obedience, but sparks were catching in the dust. The next morning came with no warmth. The colony of New Terra was quiet, but it was not calm. Whispers moved through the halls like wind through old pipes. People walked with their heads down, but their ears were open. Their eyes watched everything. Something was happening. Elias stood in the old maintenance garage with Mina and Kroll. The door was locked, the lights dim. They hunched over a map of the colony's outer zone. Red markers showed council relay posts, drone stations, and sensor towers. "This one here," Mina pointed, "is a relay tower used to send real-time data back to the council." Elias nodded. "Surveillance feed. Everything. Movement, ship activity, even heat signatures from the ground. It's how they keep eyes on us without being here." Kroll crossed his arms. "Can we take it out?" "We can," Mina said. "But it has to look like a system fault. If they know it was us, they'll send more than just drones." Elias looked at the marker. It was a small tower near the edge of the desert, guarded by 2 drones and a single maintenance tech. "Tonight," he said, "no one talks. No one slips." They spent the day preparing quietly. Mina calibrated the jamming device. Kroll checked the weapons, carefully selected from the old stash. Nothing heavy, nothing flashy, just enough to stun and disable. Elias stared at his blaster for a long time before finally strapping it to his belt. Night came fast, as it always did on New Terra. The wind picked up, blowing fine dust across the hills. The 3 of them moved through the dark, dressed in old mining gear. Their clothes were coated in dirt to mask body heat. The relay tower stood silent against the black sky. A dull blue light pulsed from the top. Two drones hovered nearby, drifting in slow circles. Mina knelt behind a boulder and activated the jammer. "Now," she whispered. Elias moved first, silent and swift. He crossed the open ground and reached the tower base. Kroll followed, holding a pulse rifle. The drones twitched but didn't react, jam blind. The maintenance tech, a young man in a council uniform, stepped out from a side hatch, yawning. Elias grabbed him from behind and pressed a stun blade to his neck. "Don't shout," Elias said. "We're not here to kill you." The tech froze, eyes wide. "You're making a mistake." "No," Elias said quietly. "We're correcting one." Mina ran diagnostics on the console, quickly faking a system failure report. "Done," she said. "We got maybe 10 minutes before backup protocols kick in." They left the tech tied inside the tower with a water pack and walked back into the desert. By the time they reached the colony, the sky was beginning to lighten. The stars faded, but Elias felt something else rising. Not the sun, something hotter. The council's reach had just been broken, even if only for a moment. Later that morning, the colony's newsfeed displayed a strange notice. Sensor Tower 9 offline. Malfunction under investigation. Response team dispatched. No alarms. No raids. Just silence and confusion. But the people of New Terra noticed. In a repair yard, Elias heard workers whispering. In the mess hall, Kroll was no longer alone. Faces looked more alive. Hope flickered, small but sharp. The overseer, Taller, returned to the colony square 2 hours later. He wore the same silver robe, but his smile was tighter now. "There has been a disruption," he said to the gathered crowd. "A technical issue. Nothing more." He looked around slowly, searching for signs of rebellion. "If anyone has information," he said, "you must come forward." No one moved. Not a single person. Taller's smile vanished. That evening, council enforcers began patrolling the streets in pairs. Quiet, serious. People kept their heads down again. But something had changed. Something beneath the silence. Elias sat on the rooftop of his workshop, looking out at the horizon. Mina sat beside him, legs crossed. "You know they'll send more soon," she said. "I know," Elias replied. "We'll need more than 3 of us." Elias nodded. "They'll come. They just need time. Do we have it?" Elias didn't answer. Far off in the sky, the faint outline of a council drone ship hovered in low orbit. Watching. The war hadn't started yet, but the first blow had been struck. For 2 days, the colony held its breath. The relay tower remained down. No one admitted to anything. Overseer Taller doubled patrols. Drones buzzed overhead day and night, their cameras sweeping every corner of New Terra. The council's comm mask had cracked, and everyone could feel the tension beneath it. But fear no longer controlled the people. It only made them quieter, more careful, more ready. Elias moved like a shadow through the colony, meeting in hidden places, whispering plans, gathering names. He found more than he expected. Old soldiers, smugglers, hackers, even a few council workers who had grown sick of following orders that came from silver mouths and cold eyes. In the old water plant, he met with 7 others. Kroll stood beside him, and Mina tapped commands into a pad, showing drone flight paths and blind zones. Elias looked at the group, his voice steady. "It's not about one tower anymore," he said. "We sent a message. Now, the council wants to make an example out of us." "They'll come hard," said one man. "We don't have a fleet. We barely have rifles." Elias nodded. "But we have people, and that's what they fear most." A young woman named Run leaned forward. "So what's the next move?" "Nothing," Elias said. "For now, we wait." But the council did not. That night, the sky lit up. A strike ship entered the atmosphere without warning. It was small, sleek, fast, and deadly. It landed just outside the colony gates. A squad of 6 enforcers stepped out in black armor. No words, no broadcasts. Their target, Elias Ward. Alarms blared through the colony as the strike team marched in formation. Overseer Taller followed behind them, his face grim. Elias was ready. He'd known this day would come. Kroll met him behind the machine yard. "They're heading this way," he said. "You should run." "No," Elias replied. "Running makes me look guilty." I want them to see me. Mina appeared from the shadows, handing him a stun grenade. This isn't bravery, she said. This is suicide. Elias gave her a faint smile. Not if I make it out. The enforcers found him in the open, standing near the fuel tanks. He raised his hands, calm and unarmed. Taller stepped forward. Elias Ward. By order of the Galactic Council, you are under arrest for sabotage, theft of military weapons, and inciting rebellion. The crowd began to gather, watching from doorways and rooftops. I haven't done anything, Elias said clearly. You don't have proof. Taller's eyes narrowed. We don't need proof. We have authority. The enforcers moved in. That's when Mina triggered the first distraction. An old loaderbot she had reprogrammed came crashing through the far fence, spinning and spraying sparks. The enforcers turned in confusion. Elias moved fast. He dropped a smoke canister and disappeared into the cloud. Kroll appeared on the other side, firing a pulse rifle. Non-lethal rounds, enough to stun, not kill. The crowd scattered. Chaos erupted. Elias ducked behind a shipping crate, firing short bursts. One enforcer went down. Another chased him, fast and silent. Elias rolled, grabbed a metal pipe, and struck low, knocking the enforcer off balance. Mina's voice crackled in his earpiece. Fall back to the tunnel. Go now. He ran. Through the fog, past sparks and shouting, down into a side vent that led to the lower access tunnels. Kroll followed, close behind, bleeding from the shoulder. They escaped, but it came at a cost. 3 rebels were captured that night. The council took them without trial. Their families were told nothing. The next day, their homes were sealed and marked with red symbols. Elias sat on the edge of his cot, staring at the cracked floor. We can't keep running, Mina said beside him. I know. They'll keep coming. I know. What do we do? Elias stood slowly. His voice was low but firm. We stop hiding. He turned to face the others gathered in the old storeroom. Some wounded, some angry, all afraid, but no longer willing to bow. The council wants to break us in pieces, Elias said. But we're not alone anymore. Other colonies are watching. If we fight back, they might too. He looked at the stars through the broken vent in the ceiling. This was supposed to be the edge of the galaxy, the place where we could live free. He clenched his fists. Let's remind them why they feared humanity in the first place. The room was silent for a moment. Then Kroll spoke. We'll need ships. And weapons, Mina added. I know where we can get both, Elias said. He looked around at them, eyes burning with resolve. Are you ready to fight? No one said yes. They just stood up. The old hangar outside the colony had once been used to store mining haulers. Big, slow, and loud. Now it was quiet, full of dust and darkness. The only sound was the sharp click of tools and the low hum of machines waking after years of silence. Elias stood in the center of the hangar, looking over a line of ships that had no business flying. Their paint was chipped, their hulls dented. But beneath the scars, the bones were strong. Mina walked beside him, holding a data tablet. These are all we've got, she said. 7 light fighters, 2 medium haulers with weapon mounts, and 1 stealth recon ship. Elias nodded. Can they fly? With work, she said. And luck. Rebuilding ships was only one part of the plan. Weapons had to be pulled from storage. Parts were scavenged from broken bots. Fuel was rationed, hidden, and moved at night. The council patrols were watching, so every move had to be careful. Kroll led a crew of mechanics and former smugglers who knew how to hide things in plain sight. They worked around the clock, turning rusted machines into something that could fight back. The colony was no longer just surviving. It was preparing. News came from other human colonies. Small signals hidden in trade messages. Encrypted calls passed from hand to hand. Velos Prime hadn't been the last. More planets were pushing back. A network was forming, and Elias was becoming the symbol. He didn't want to be. One night, Kale came to see him, his younger sister. She'd stayed quiet until now, living in the medical sector, treating wounds, and keeping her head down. She found Elias in the hangar, tightening a bolt on the wing of a fighter. You're really going through with this? She asked. He didn't look up. I have to. You could run. We could leave New Terra. Start over. Elias turned to her. His face was worn, tired. There's nowhere left to run. The council isn't just coming for me. They're coming for all of us. Kale looked around at the ships. People are going to die. I know. She stepped closer. So will you. Elias said nothing for a moment. Then he placed a hand on her shoulder. If I don't come back, he said, make sure they remember why we fought. She wiped a tear from her cheek, nodded, and walked away. The next morning, Mina gathered the leaders of the resistance in the control room beneath the hangar. The air was thick with tension. Everyone knew what was coming. I found something, she said, pulling up a map of council space. She pointed to a red circle deep in a starless zone. This is a relay hub. It connects the council's surveillance network, feeds every camera, drone, and satellite they use to watch us. Destroy it, and they go blind for weeks. Elias leaned over the map. Defense. Heavy, Mina said, but not impossible. The station wasn't built for war. Just data. What's the plan? We get in fast, hit hard, and vanish. They'll think it's a glitch or pirates. We don't give them time to trace us. Kroll raised an eyebrow. What if they do? Elias answered, then we make it worth it. They worked for 3 more days, finishing repairs, loading gear, testing engines. Every hour brought more risk. A council scout ship passed low over the colony once, but didn't land. The people kept moving, kept quiet. The night before the mission, Elias sat alone in the hangar, watching the stars through a cracked ceiling panel. He remembered flying through those stars during the war, when he still believed in orders and medals and the idea that peace could be won by playing nice. Now he knew better. Now he knew peace had to be taken. Mina found him there. You ready? She asked. No, Elias said, but we're going anyway. She sat beside him. We win this round. We light a signal across the galaxy. And if we lose? She smiled faintly. Then at least we struck first. Dawn came cold and quiet. The fighters lifted from the ground one by one, engines glowing in the dark. Elias led the fleet in a small, fast attack ship with reinforced armor and twin plasma cannons. Kroll flew back up. Mina rode in the recon ship, guiding them through deep space with hacked and AV codes. As the colony shrank behind them, Elias looked back one last time. New Terra was where it had started. Now, they would carry the fire forward, into the void, into the heart of the council. Space was quiet, but tension crackled inside the cockpit like lightning waiting to strike. Elias stared ahead, eyes sharp, fingers steady on the flight controls. The stars stretched around him like cold fire. His ship, Nomad 1, flew point ahead of the formation. Behind him, the small fleet followed in silence. 7 fighters, 2 armed haulers, and Mina's recon ship drifting like a ghost. No banners, no signals, just war in silence. The target, the council relay hub, floated at the edge of a dead system. No planets, no moons. Just a massive black station with a red glowing core, anchored in the emptiness like a spider on a web. It pulsed with life. Every drone and spy eyeing human territory was tied to it. Destroying it wouldn't win the war, but it would light the fuse. Mina's voice crackled over comms. We're in range. External defenses are light, automated turrets, maybe a couple of guard drones. They don't expect a direct hit, Elias replied. They will now. The team split into formation. Kroll and the fighters flanked left, while the haulers stayed back, ready to deliver the explosive payload. Mina's recon ship ran jamming interference, disrupting council signals and blinding their scanners. As they approached, red beams flickered from the station, automated turrets waking up. Evasive, Elias shouted. He spun Nomad, one into a barrel roll, lasers flashing past his wings. Kroll returned fire, punching holes through the turret grid. One fighter burst into flame, a direct hit. The pilot, Run, didn't eject. They kept moving. Open a breach, Elias ordered. We need entry to the core. One of the haulers launched a guided missile. Primitive tech, harder to block. It struck the side of the station, tearing a hole in the outer wall. Debris scattered. Oxygen vented. Alarms blinked across the relay hub like a strobe light in the dark. Elias flew straight into the breach. Inside, the station's corridors were wide and cold, glowing with blue data streams running along the walls. Automated defenses rose from panels, turrets, drones, scanner bots. Elias and two others disembarked quickly, using magnetic boots to move in zero gravity. Plasma bolts flew in all directions. Elias shot a drone point blank, kicked off the wall, and landed near the core door. Mina's voice echoed in his earpiece. You've got 90 seconds before the system reroutes and locks you out. He didn't waste a second. He pulled the core override device from his pack, connected it to the panel, and waited. The screen blinked red, then green. Doors open, Mina confirmed. Moo! The core chamber glowed like a dying star. A massive data orb pulsed in the center, cables wrapped around it like veins. This was the brain of the Council's surveillance network. It watched everything. Everyone. Elias pulled out the fusion charges. Simple, powerful, untraceable. As he placed the devices one by one, he thought of Velos Prime. He thought of the nameless rebels taken from New Terra. He thought of his sister, Kale, waiting back home, hoping this mission would be the one that made a difference. Then he heard the sound he feared. Boots. Real ones. Council enforcers had arrived. They weren't drones. They weren't machines. They were soldiers. He ducked behind a pillar as plasma bolts hissed through the air. Two of his team fell in the first wave. He returned fire, hitting one soldier in the neck. The other ducked and moved closer. Elias fired again, missed. A sharp pain burned through his side. He was hit. Blood floated in small red bubbles in the air around him. He gritted his teeth and kept going. He had one charge left to place. Elias. Mina called out. Status. Almost done. You've got incoming ships. A fleet. We have to leave. Elias placed the last charge. The device beeped. 60 seconds. He limped toward the exit, dragging himself along the cables. Another enforcer blocked his path. Tall, armored, face hidden behind a black visor. The soldier raised his weapon. Elias didn't think. He threw himself forward, slammed the enforcer against the wall, and fired point blank into his chest. The body floated limp. Elias grabbed a side rail and pulled himself through the open hatch. Mina's voice screamed through his comms. Elias, get out now. He launched from the breach. His suit jets fired, pushing him away from the station just as the charges blew. The explosion bloomed in silence. Fire, metal, and light spiraled out from the core. The relay station cracked open like a dead planet. Data stream shattered. The glowing red core collapsed in on itself, turning black. Mina's ship caught him mid-flight. She opened the hatch, and Kroll pulled him inside. He collapsed on the floor, breathing hard, blood pooling from his side. You did it, Kroll said. Elias didn't answer. He stared at the ceiling, blinking away pain. Mina stood over him. We need to go. Now. Outside, the Council's reinforcements arrived, too late. The rebel fleet scattered, jumping to preset warp points, vanishing into the stars. Behind them, the burning wreckage of the relay hub drifted through space. Blind, broken, a message sent in fire. And far across the galaxy, other colonies would see the smoke. 3 weeks passed. The skies over New Terra were different now. Clearer. Still gray, still cold, but different. The silence that once meant control now felt like space to breathe. The drones no longer circled. The Council's eyes were closed. For now, Elias lay in the recovery wing of the colony's medical center. The wound in his side had gone deep, but Mina's team got him back just in time. The doctor said he shouldn't have survived, but he did. He woke to the sound of wind scratching the windows and the soft hum of machines. Kale sat beside him, watching him sleep like she used when they were kids. You're late, he rasped. She smiled and wiped a tear from her cheek. You always wake up when you shouldn't. Elias tried to sit up, winced, then stayed down. Did it work? He asked. Kale nodded slowly. The station's gone. Communications across Council territory are broken. Colonies are talking, openly, not whispering anymore. Elias exhaled and stared at the ceiling. Others, he asked. Some got out, Kale said. Some didn't. He closed his eyes. He could still hear the gunfire, the explosions. He remembered the look on Ren's face right before her ship was hit. The sound of metal tearing apart. The pain in his ribs. But he also remembered the fire, the explosion of the relay core, the light, the feeling of doing something. The council hadn't responded yet. No fleets, no more orders, no more overseer Taller. Just silence. That silence spread. Soon, other colonies followed. Reports came in, encrypted but clear. On Hespera, 9 workers had taken over the landing bays. On Bellera, a council armory was seized. Even Earth, quiet for years, had seen marches in the streets. A resistance was growing, not from orders but from sparks. And New Terra had been a match. When Elias finally stood on his feet again, the colony had changed. No more guards in silver robes. No more fear in the voices of miners and engineers. People walked with purpose. They nodded to Elias when he passed, some in quiet thanks, some with eyes that burned with new determination. He didn't like being called a leader, but now they looked to him. In the old hangar, the surviving ships had been patched up again. Kroll and Mina were going over new flight plans, this time with volunteer pilots from other colonies. Mina looked up as Elias walked in, slower than usual, but upright. "You're late," she said with a smirk. Elias raised an eyebrow. "That joke's already taken." Kroll laughed from behind a crate. "Good to see you standing." Elias glanced at the ships. "Where are you going?" "Out," Mina said. "The fire's spreading. We need to help organize. Train fighters. Pass information. Other colonies need support," Kroll added. "They don't know what you know." Elias nodded, then looked out the hangar door at the vast, open sky. "Then we keep going," he said. That night, he climbed the tallest point of the colony, an old comms tower that hadn't worked in years. From there, he looked out at the land, the stars, and the shadow of the galaxy they were trying to change. Kale joined him, arms wrapped in a blanket. "You going with them?" she asked. "Not yet," he said. "Why not?" "Because this started here," Elias said. "And it's not finished." They stood together in silence. Down below, the colony lights glowed like small fires in the dark. And in the sky, the stars watched without judgment. The council had wanted silence. They wanted obedience. But humanity had given them something else. They had given them fire.